Okay. All right, Major Ed, welcome to the Well Podcast. Beyond the bio, we're going to get to know somebody who I think everybody needs to know, who's Major Ed Pulido. Ed, welcome to the show, man.
Man, what a great day to be an American, and what a great day to be a part of the real estate industry here in the state of Oklahoma, but across this great nation. You know, that's what it's all about, and that's the beacon of light for what we do.
Absolutely right. Um, so, um, a lot of people know Major Ed. Literally everybody I come across knows Ed and has worked with him in most of the time in your philanthropy work, which is pretty extensive. But I want to see if we can just, for maybe the 4 or 5 people that don't know you, I just want to give you a minute to introduce yourself and kind of tell your story and just who you are. If you want to just let us know, how you became who you are.
Yeah, so my name is Major Ed Pulido, United States Army retired, and I am the Chief Public Relations Officer here at First American Title. And of course, I've also spent 20 years of my life serving in the military. I'm retired, but I also have done a lot of philanthropic work across this great nation with Folds of Honor, my good friends at Warriors for Freedom, John Daly, Major Ed, Heart of a Lion, and then now empower the veterans. And all of them have been really a focus of making sure we provide mental, physical wellness, scholarships. And now I get to do this really kind of cool endeavor where I'm working on entrepreneurship. And it's a very powerful thing. And as you know, you're an entrepreneur. You get up every morning and you go to work, and you're in the real estate world. And that's what we want to do, is empower veterans and first responders to seek out opportunities like that and thrive and be successful in the communities that they serve. And how great it is that we can use residential real estate, commercial real estate to really empower these warriors and their families and get them, to thrive and again be successful, and also just get educated and trained and understand how incredible this industry is, and that's how we connected. And so it's a
Right.
powerful story of just making sure that we do the right thing and that we're in real estate to make a difference.
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect. I mean, empower the veterans. What would, because you have helped many organizations, and
Yes.
you're pretty high profile. I mean, we've seen you on the news recently. I mean, you're everywhere. What is it about Empower the Veterans that what made you want to start this particular nonprofit?
Yeah, there was actually, I had received notification of various individuals with suicidal issues and mental health and physical health. And one of the things that I learned real quickly, and it was one of those things where you're kind of called to action, but it's kind of a scary moment in life. It's like,
Right.
what am I going to do next after military service? And I just knew that I had to look at an avenue of approach where I could make a difference, but then also not to be a handout, but be a hand up. And
Right.
I felt like that's what Empower the Veterans was all about, was making sure that we provided those attributes, whether it's mental and physical, but that there's a wellness approach. And wellness to me is, attending, you know, whatever religious beliefs you have, attending church, being a part of your community with Rotary or the other civic clubs that are out there, being in connection with the associations that we belong with, because that's a powerful tool of interacting with individuals within the industry. And what we wanted to do is in turn, after all of these things, assessment, evaluation, and looking at people's disability ratings and making sure that everybody's got the services and the support that they need, we looked at entrepreneurship support. And I will tell you that that falls along with housing. So you got to have housing, You got to have all of the other supportive mechanisms to thrive and be successful, but then you got to have a job. And when you
Right.
have a job, one of the things that we've learned is that people thrive and not only get empowered, but also feel good about their life and their their resiliency and their never quit type of attitude that they may incur because of work. And I think sometimes we downplay how important that is, but getting up every day and doing something that you love and you're passionate about really becomes purposeful. And that is what Empower the Veterans is all about. But it's also an educational tool as well, because what we want to do is educate individuals on what other industries may be doing, maybe in politics, having people
Mm-hmm.
go into politics and make a difference in their local communities. So there's just a lot of different things that we can um, do and utilize with this platform. And that's how it was created. And I'm just honored and grateful that I get to be a part of it, because I live it every day after hitting
Right.
a roadside bomb in Iraq in 2004.
Yeah. You know, you made a good point on the homepage, which if actually I'm going to pop that up right here. Just that's a website if you want to go. But I mean, honestly, if you Google Major Ed Pulido, you're going to find it. Um, but I was reading that, and you make a good point though. When we go into the military, for the military people out there, when we go to MEPS and when we go
Yeah.
to these places, they put you through rigorous testing, and they see what you're good for, what you can't do, what you can do. But then when you get out, who's there to help you make that transition. And it seems that your organization is trying to pick up that torch to where it's not just, hey, we appreciate your service and head on out there, but there's a transition. Does that sound
Yeah,
right?
that's a great point that you make, because when you get out, they kind of tell you, hey, listen, get your resume built, put together some of the things that you did so that they translate to what they may look like outside in the civilian force. But what they don't do, and this is kind of commonality, is provide what I call peer-to-peer support and that mentorship. And that is what we do that's different, is that
Yeah.
once you're out, you're out. And in our case, once you're out, you hit us. And we placed over 400 and something people just in the last 6-7 months, making connections or connecting them to a resource. So what happens is people don't even understand sometimes the VA process. We just had a gentleman this morning, very, very astute, very well to do, got rated about 40%. Come to find out, we have a conversation, and I send him over to my good friend, Dr. Ellis. And Dr. Ellis will probably work his disability case and look at the numbers and say, you know what, this gentleman should have been rated at least an 80 to 90 to 100% percentile. I mean, he's got
Mm-hmm.
a back issue. He's got neck problems. He's got some other things. And so what we do is we try to look at that and then take it to the next level with opportunities to work and to thrive and kind of see where their niche may be. If you've driven a truck in the military, you're probably not going to be the individual who's going to sit behind a desk. Okay,
Right.
you
Yeah.
may dispatch somebody, but that may be it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's everyone can translate and do whatever they want in life.
Sure.
But my thing is, why not look at their skill set, what they've done, and then put them in a position to thrive and be successful. What does that mean? Well, let's take a truck driver, because we've had some of those individuals we placed. We put them through a school that's out here in the network. They get to use
Mm-hmm.
their VA benefits. They get to be connected. And then we may look at that school, and then all of a sudden they may have a hiring program for it. It could be driving an 18-wheeler, or driving food distribution truck locally. It could be anything from that nature, working at Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Coors, Budweiser. I mean, you see,
Yeah.
so you just may not think that it's not just about driving a truck, it's about sales and opportunities. And maybe that's how you have to start, is running a route. But what eventually happens is you become part of a sales force, and then they may hire you to do something else within. That to
Yeah.
me is the advancement. That is what the military was always all about, is people retiring and doing something different outside of that space, or they may use their GI Bill and go do something else. Again, we want to look at education and then also work opportunities, and utilizing Chapter 33 and the other you know vocational rehab programs that they may have, that the VA may offer, or community-based programs that maybe a Goodwill or someone like that may offer. And then all of a sudden you're becoming a resource to people. And that to me is the power of what is all about. And then we take it a step further in creating maybe an entrepreneur that decides he wants to go into the mortgage lending side of the house, or
Right.
into real estate and
Right.
selling the act, helping buyers find their real estate or their house that they are gonna, put money down on and go through a process. And there's a lot of other skills there, from finance to making sure that you provide good sales, good customer service, all of those things. Again, all of a sudden now you're beginning to develop new skills, new traits. And those opportunities only come when you are connected to organizations in the community that can make that happen.
And that's one of the things I think is super important about what you guys do, because when you go back to, if you can imagine, and I know it's been a while, so I'm not going to test your memory too hard, but I can remember, and I still see them today when we're seeing advertisements for joining the military. Join the
Yeah.
military, learn these skills, learn these things that'll translate, and then it'll set you up for the rest of your life. But there seems to be a gap, is once they've got you, and that's not a bad thing, but I'm just saying, once you've been recruited, once you've done your time, now I've got these skills. How do I utilize those, and where do I go? You can do it on your own, but it's difficult. And
Yes.
some people, when they leave the military, they're not the same as when they entered. Um, and so this is something that I think is important, because it helps bridge that gap, for people who are ahead of you, like you, who have put all these resources in one spot that they can access. So I mean, I think it's amazing that there's still people out there that are wanting to help make that transition, um, because it's extremely important. You know.
Well, and I want to tell you something too, Rob. Check this out. So I read this book. It's John Maxwell's book on leadership, The
Mhm.
High Road to Leadership. And I'm reading some other stuff on that kind of stuff. That's also the other extension of this. I think we always talk about a skill, but utilizing that skill and learning to be empowered with that skill, and learning the other things that you may have been taught in the military and applying them to civilian life is very important. And you understand that in lending,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that go along with it, from the finance part of it, which is a huge part of making sure the numbers jive, to reporting. You got to report stuff to the Internal Revenue Service. You got to report it to the state. You got to report it to, in the abstracting phase and the closing
Yeah.
phase. I mean, there's a process. Everybody thinks, what? Not everybody thinks, but they don't understand what goes along with all of the things that, from start where you start to where we have to finish. And that to me is why I'm here at First American Title, is to promote the efficiency of the system, the checks and balances, and all of that. And so that's a learned trait as well. And if I can learn something like that, then I know others can too. I didn't
Yeah.
know anything about real estate. I know you probably didn't at one point, but it led you to that. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden now look what you're doing, who you're helping. And that's the ultimate goal, is when we provide a service to somebody and they have a smile on their face and we've done our part. And we take that for granted, doing our part for this nation and for its vitality is something that I don't take for granted at all, because we are doing our part to give individuals the opportunity to have home ownership or own a business. And there's a process that goes along with it. And if you don't follow that, then all of a sudden we don't have the checks and balances necessary for businesses to thrive, or people to be able to thrive in the homes that they live in, and be able to invest and reinvest and rebuy And that's what it's all about. And I learned real quickly, one last thing, as a young boy from my dad, you buy your first house, and then you buy your second house and third house, and that's how you move forward in real estate.
Right.
And eventually you end up having something nice that you can feel good about. And that to me improves your quality of life and your community standing and the opportunities that are afforded to you. And the military has done that, but now this is a new chapter in life.
Absolutely right. And that kind of blends into one of the things that we wanted to address today is when we're talking about that utilization. I always kind of joke, I give classes and I always kind of make the same joke in every class is when you leave the military, it's like the last day of your 12th grade year in high school. It's your last class. You got 1 hour left and you're free and you can't wait to get the hell out of there. And that is the time in the military when they're leaving where they might tell you a little bit about, like you were saying, get your resume together. Here's a couple of your benefits. Check in with your local nonprofit. Go see the VA, whatever. And nobody's listening. We're ready to get out of there. We've got all our stuff off. I'm just waiting to unlace these boots for the last time and go. And so that's why it's important what you're doing. And then also why and I'm sure a lot of people that are seeing this have probably been a little bit bombarded with some advertising about the class that we're going to be putting on in Lawton, Oklahoma on May 13th at the Apache Nation Casino, where you're going to, come up and speak to people about the things we're talking about now, tell them a little bit about yourself, but we're also going to follow it up with a VA class it's for anybody. But we like to target realtors to come and get this continuing education because there's a lot surrounding the VA home loan that isn't true or might have been true a long time ago, but not now. And a lot of times that VA home loan is sometimes frowned upon.
Yes.
And what we try to do is educate people on why that is not exactly the case. And if anything, it's the exact opposite. But the most important part is when you see those VA offers come across your desk, we want to try to remind people, what does the V in that VA loan stand for? Right? I always challenge people. I say it. I don't know that it's particularly, it might be a little blunt, but I challenge people, don't be a social media patriot. It's easy to go on Veterans Day and take a template and plaster it on and say, thank you for the troops, or on, 4th of July, whatever the case may be. But what are you doing when you have the opportunity? And there's a lot of people in the real estate world that look at that VA loan and say, it's going to be a problem for this reason or this reason or that reason. The reason that we're wanting to give that class is so that they can understand that those reasons are not valid. And if anything, this is a better offer than what you may be looking at. But just don't forget who the V in the VA is. That's a veteran. You're going to tell me you're going to get in the way of that person trying to buy their home? And I don't think people think about it too much that way, but I really challenge people to think about it that way. If it's a good offer, it makes what you need to make, sellers are happy, then let's go through with it and not discount that offer because of some myths that have developed or that have been passed down to you by people who may have had problems years and years ago. And so that's why we're going to be doing what we're doing, is we want to change that narrative. Is that something that you've seen on your side, or, what do you think about that?
Well, I go back to the fact that we have a benefit and it's not being utilized. And whether it's an appraisal issue, or it may be the cumbersome behind the output or the opportunity, whatever it is, I always go back to this story my dad told me on why you have to use it. He said, you have a benefit, And what will happen is everybody's going to throw something at you. And you need to use that benefit because number one, you earned it. And number two, it's been given to you on behalf of a grateful nation. So you take it for what it is. And the example that he kind of gave is like, there's a lot of military personnel, young personnel, and he would tell them this as a commander. He would say, you know what? The last thing you need to be doing is getting yourself in a bunch of debt, and you need to buy a house. You need there are priorities that take place. Um, buy a car that you can afford and all of the other things, but having a home, having a stable residency. And then, and then he always would say this, which is kind of cool. He said, and don't go out there to those little loan shops and get a 23% interest rate loan
Yeah.
on something, and then you can't even pay it off. And to
Right.
me, that was kind of very powerful because what he was saying was, get a loan and be able to buy you a house. If you have all this other debt that you have, you're never going to be able to do that.
That's
And you're
exactly
going to
right.
get yourself in financial trouble, whether it's credit card debt or whatever it is. So it was more of a finance kind of mentorship process. But I remember vividly seeing some of our service members go into some of these loan places, and then all of a sudden they wonder why they can't qualify for something.
Yeah.
Well, you went ahead and got 23% loan stuff from these people. They ripped you off, and you only got $3,000. And
Yeah.
now you have a credit score issue because you weren't able to repay that.
Hmm.
So it's not just about the home purchase. It's about, financial literacy, along with the fact that the final outcome is to have a home, a car, and food on the table, and the other things that are very, very important. And then everything else comes along with that, entertainment and everything of that nature. But again, that is something that in America, every veteran should be taken advantage of, and that is home ownership and utilizing that benefit. And there's some benefits along that go with that. And you shouldn't leave that money on the table. And the final comment I'm going to make from an economic development piece, we need to make sure that people are using their GI Bill and their VA benefit because it is prudent and it does help with the economic engine of our state here in Oklahoma. And
That's
I
right.
just say it just like that. When you have dollars that come in from federal opportunities, that just enhances the opportunities that we have for us to thrive as a state and leveraging. I don't know if you know, but the rates of people using their GI Bill and their home loan opportunity through the VA, the numbers are a little low. And I
Mm.
think we can improve on all of that and leverage those dollars from the federal government.
That's you say it perfectly right there. And one of the reasons, and you mentioned this before, is one of the reasons that they're not being used, they may not be understood. They don't
Yeah.
perhaps understand that. I mean, I remember when I first got out, I thought, okay, when I get older and I make some money, I'm going to use the VA loan then. I'm going to save it for the big house because I don't want to put a
Yeah.
bunch of money down on the big house. So I'll go use something else until then. I didn't know I could use it more than one time or
That's right.
multiple times. I mean, I didn't know. And like I said, that's something that we don't know. And that's kind of the point that we want to educate everybody on how this benefit works. I mean, this is one that I can help with. You help with all of them. I mean, the one thing that it's and another point to make, and I don't know if you agree with this, but the veteran community, the military community, they are one of the most heavily advertised to groups in the whole country. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons why is because they're employed. We know that they're getting their money. They're not getting laid off. And that's why you see every military town's got 50 car dealerships, like you mentioned. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like you'll see banks that literally will name themselves something military-esque to try and almost fool people into thinking, hey, this is something that the military set up for you, whatever the case is. But I see them on my Instagram constantly. And you brought up something a minute ago about disability ratings. I see it all the time where there are companies advertising that they're going to help you get your disability rating and they're going to take a chunk of that money They're going to charge
Yes.
you, things like that. But that's where you come in, on that issue and multiple issues. But who are the right people to go to? I'm getting bombarded with people telling me they want to help me, but then they want to take my money as well. That's the world we live in. And there's not unfortunately, just having served your country is not enough reason for somebody not to try and screw you over in this country. That's unfortunate, but
Yes.
there are people like you who have sifted through these things and know how to point you in the right direction and make sure that you don't fall victim to some of these things out here that are constantly being advertised, to veterans on a daily basis. What that brings me to something that I'm curious about is, if I'm hearing this and I'm a veteran and I'm like, everything that Ed's talking about, these are things that I want to explore. How do I get involved with you? How do I reach out to you? What do I do right this second to be able to utilize some of the resources and help that you provide?
Well, first thing I would say is go to majored.org and check out Empower the Veterans. That's my flavor of the day. It's up there on the screen. The second thing is come and attend our event. I mean, if you're a veteran and you're interested in possibly getting connected to the real estate world, the best place to go is to join like the Lawton Board of Realtors or the Edmond
Mhm.
Board of Realtors where we live, or Oklahoma City, whatever it is. These associations are there to provide that support. The other thing that I would say is attend one of our seminars. When you come to one of our seminars, you're going to learn about the process. You're, as a real estate agent, you're going to be interconnected to being what we call a certified veteran advocate, or a certified veteran real estate agent. Let's don't
Yeah.
even leave out, we're talking about veterans, but let's not leave out our first responders.
Oh,
Those
absolutely.
individuals are always looking for a place to live, and certainly to close. And for me, at First American Title, I want to bring people here to close with us. I mean, but there are
Sure.
other closing companies out there that do a great job as well. But get connected to the system, understand it, and from a real estate perspective, get trained, get educated, and also understand that, and most real estate agents do know this. It is a dog eat world out there, and certainly you got to hit it every day, and it doesn't
Right.
come easy. I know with loans with you all, it doesn't come easy, but the thing that you can do is be a great self starter, uh, be somebody that's recognized, have a veteran friendly seal to who you are and who you represent, and representing veterans and first responders, but having that niche and those marketing attributes, and then of course attending these trainings, because getting the accreditation hours that you need to keep your license and to do the things that you're going to need to be successful in your business. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. And I always talk to young realtors that say, hey, I want to get into business, but I want to do it part time. Everything that you do needs to be full time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may want to do it part time hours, but I do everything full time, brother.
Full-time
The
effort.
philanthropy that I do, the work that I do at First American Title, because that's my full time job during the day. But I do the philanthropy and I do it at full force, man. I'm not doing it just as a half job.
Right.
And when you do it, when you think that way, things will come, leads will be a part of it, the networking, but also one thing that doesn't get talked a lot about, and that is increased and enhanced customer service.
Mhm.
Everyone matters. Understanding that no matter what someone looks like, what background they may have, they matter with respect and with dignity, with honor and duty and responsibility as an industry expert. And that's what we do. That's what you do. And that's what this training is all about, too, is making sure that we are the most professional individuals in this space, so that people understand that our business is ran effectively, but also that the reason that there's checks and balances is that we all check and balance one another, and we
Mhm.
do it for the greater good, and that is for the industry to thrive and be successful.
I couldn't agree with you more. Well, I know you're pretty in demand guy, and I appreciate you carving out a little bit of time to drop in and spread a little bit of knowledge about Empower the Veterans, about our 3 hour OREC certified class in Lawton at the Apache Casino.
Yeah.
That's going to be May 13th. Kicks off at 2:30. 2:30, Ed will be on stage, and you'll get to learn more from him, learn more about his story. We didn't have enough time to do the
Yeah.
story here, but I've been fortunate enough to sit with Ed and hear more about why it is he is the way he is and who he is. And so I would encourage anybody to come out, just come out and listen. We're going to do a little happy hour afterwards to sit around and mingle. And if you had questions about anything you heard on here, about Empower the Veterans, you can speak directly to the man himself. He'll be there, and I'm sure you wouldn't mind having a little one-on-one chat with anybody that wanted to talk about it. So Ed, I again appreciate you carving out that time for us, and would like to make sure that we get enough people out there that spread the message and keep it going. So I
Yeah, and if
appreciate
they're
you.
and if we got people there in the Lawton area, again, Lawton Board of Realtors, anyone else that may want to be a part of our process here and be a part of our family to kind of, again, it doesn't matter who you work for. We're all in the same space. It's
Yeah,
real estate. And
yeah,
I want to thank you and Mitch. I know Mitch with KW is trying to build his business there. There are other realtor companies too. We just want people to come out, be a part of our family, and certainly a lot board of realtors. That association thrives and they're successful. We're going to do a golf tournament, I believe. I'm going to be at that golf tournament on the 12th of May. And
yeah.
then on the 13th, we'll do our thing where we provide education, training, and networking opportunities. That's what that is all about. And again, thank you and Mitch for your hard work and dedication and motivation to inspire and let people know that, you know what, you're not alone in this journey of real estate.
Absolutely right. Well, Ed, I appreciate you. And we'll see you guys on the 12th, or sorry, the 13th. For any realtors that are going to be at the golf tournament on the 12th, don't drink too much so you can make it to our event. And we'll see you guys there. Ed, I thank you, man.
All right. Thank you and Godspeed. Hoorah.